All right, so today we're going deep on Mark Zuckerberg, like really deep.
Deeper than the memes.
Oh yeah, way deeper. We've got this profile on him. It's pretty much a mini biography.
It's pretty wild how much his story is like the whole internet story, right?
Right. I mean, coding in his bedroom to like connecting billions of people. It's crazy.
Totally.
And, it all started way before Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Did you know he built this music program when he was a teenager?
Really? What, like Napster?
No, it was called Synapse. It was like, think Spotify, but way back then.
So, like, it recommended music.
Yeah. Based on what you listened to, AOL and Microsoft wanted to buy it.
Wow.
Imagine if he'd taken that deal.
Yeah. Crazy to think about.
But instead he went to Harvard.
Smart move.
And that's where Facebook, exploded.
Harvard in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. Everyone was getting online.
And Facebook was all about, connecting students. Simple as that.
Which, looking back, is kind of funny. It's so different now.
It's like groups and businesses and, yeah, a whole different beast.
But that's what made it work, right? That simple idea. People want to connect.
Yeah. It's like a basic human need to belong.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing that I always wonder. Why did Facebook take off when other sites like, Friendster or MySpace just kind of fizzled out?
It was a few things, I think. I mean, the design was really good, like technically. Fast, reliable,
Yeah.
But more than that, I think it was how it used real identities.
So like no fake profiles.
Right. You'd use your real name, connect with people you knew, and share real stuff like from your life.
It created this sense of what? Trust?
Yeah. Authenticity. It felt real.
Which is funny because it's online.
Right. But that was huge. A total game changer.
And from there, boom, global phenomenon. It's crazy.
And what, like a few years? It went from a dorm room project to like a billion users.
And then an IPO. And Zuckerberg, a billionaire, barely even 30.
It's the classic tech success story. The stuff of movies, right?
Totally. But there's always a but.
Yeah.
And with Facebook, the but is some pretty major controversies.
Oh, yeah. There's, the Winklevoss twins, for one.
Oh, right. That whole lawsuit claiming he stole their idea.
It was a huge deal. Like, everyone was talking about it.
Even though Zuckerberg won, it definitely made people look closer at Facebook's beginnings.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, there's Cambridge Analytica.
That was different. Not just a legal battle. It was about something much bigger.
Data privacy.
Right. Millions of users, their data taken without them knowing.
And then used for political stuff.
It was like the world suddenly woke up to the downside of all this, free connection.
The cost is your data.
Exactly. And people started asking, is Facebook doing enough to protect it?
And Zuckerberg was in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Testifying before Congress. It was intense.
Yeah, he had to own up to the negative side of what he created and start fixing it.
And that was just the beginning. Facebook has been under scrutiny ever since. Data breaches, misinformation, all of it.
Yeah, it's like the honeymoon's over.
And in the middle of all that, he decides to jump into the metaverse.
Right. Like 2021, Facebook rebrands to Meta. Big, bold move.
I remember that. Kind of confusing for everyone.
Totally. So for people who maybe missed that, explain the metaverse. What's the deal?
So it's like this vision of a totally immersive internet, 3D virtual world.
Yeah.
You can work, play, even live your life, basically.
Your virtual world.
Yeah. And Meta's pouring money into it. VR, AR, all that cutting edge stuff.
It's a big gamble.
Huge. Yeah. And not everyone's buying it.
But for Zuckerberg, it's more than just business. It's like personal.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's something deeper there.
And to understand that, we got to look closer at Zuckerberg himself. Like, who is this guy?
I mean, it's kind of wild, right? This guy builds this platform connecting like billions of people.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's like the poster child for all these tech controversies.
Right. It makes you wonder what makes him tick.
Yeah, for sure.
Luckily, this profile gets into that a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
It's not all just like hoodies and coding,
So what's he like then?
Well, one thing that comes through is just this intense, focus.
Focus.
Yeah, even back in his Harvard days, people were saying he was laser focused on his goals, like almost to the point of obsession.
Wow, so that drive was always there.
Oh, yeah, you can see it in how he built Facebook. Like, he wasn't afraid to make the tough calls,
Like what?
Moving fast, breaking things, maybe even stepping on some toes along the way.
So not just a tech whiz, but like
Yeah.
A real go-getter.
Definitely. And he's also a super quick learner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and adaptable. Remember, he was studying psychology along with computer science at Harvard.
Psychology. Interesting.
Yeah, it makes you think he's always had this curiosity about, like, human behavior.
Which, I mean, makes sense for building a social network.
Totally. You got to understand people, how they connect, all that.
Absolutely.
And as Facebook grew, Zuckerberg had to learn a whole bunch of new skills, too.
I bet.
He went from coder to CEO, public speaker, basically a diplomat.
Wow, talk about a learning curve.
Right. And all while still understanding the tech behind it all.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It really is, but it also makes me wonder about this whole metaverse thing. Is it just another example of him pushing boundaries? Or is there something more to it?
That's a good question. I think it might be both.
Both.
Yeah, on the one hand, he's always been interested in connecting people in new ways, right?
Right.
The metaverse is kind of like the ultimate expression of that, with all the immersive experiences and whatnot.
But on the other hand, there does seem to be this, like, personal element to it.
What do you mean?
Some people say he sees it as a way to create this, like, ideal world.
Ideal world.
Yeah, where people can escape the limitations of the real world.
Escape to a virtual world.
Exactly. And it kind of fits with some of the things he said about it,
Like what?
Like how it'll be a place where people can express themselves more freely, build communities, even create new economies.
It all sounds very utopian.
It does, but let's be real, the metaverse is still just a concept.
Yeah.
It could be years, even decades, before it's anything close to what he's describing.
And there are a lot of challenges, let's not forget.
Oh, yeah. Definitely technical challenges, ethical questions.
So, like, a lot of people are worried about privacy in the metaverse.
For sure. And misinformation, harmful content, all of that.
It's basically the same problems we're dealing with now, just amplified.
Right. And then there's the question of access. Will it really be for everyone?
Yeah, good point.
I think that's one of the big takeaways from all this.
What's that?
Technology isn't neutral. It reflects the values of the people who create it.
True. And it has the power to shape society in big ways.
So we have to be aware of that and have these conversations about where we want it all to go.
Definitely.
So where does that leave us with Zuckerberg and his metaverse dream?
Hard to say. He's got a tough road ahead, that's for sure.
In what way?
Well, the metaverse is far from mainstream, and Meta's been having some financial issues. There's skepticism everywhere from investors, users, even some of his own employees.
It's gotta sting a little.
Yeah. But Zuckerberg's not one to back down easily. He's always taking risks, pushing boundaries.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't play it safe.
Whether he pulls off this metaverse thing, who knows? But his journey so far has been fascinating.
Absolutely.
He shows how tech is always changing. There's always new challenges, new opportunities.
And the choices we make today will shape the digital world of tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's amazing, isn't it? One person's vision can have such a huge impact.
It really is. We've basically gone through, like, the whole digital age just by looking at Zuckerberg.
From that early music program to, like, this metaverse thing, it's a lot.
And we've seen how Facebook, I mean, it's connected so many people, but it's also brought up these huge questions.
Yeah, about privacy, free speech, what role technology should even have.
Right, like what are the limits?
It's almost hard to wrap your head around it all. And it's not even just Facebook anymore. It's like the future of the internet.
Exactly. How we do everything online, that's what's at stake.
And it's changing so fast. It's hard to keep up.
That's why I think these deep dives are so important,
Yeah, it's good to step back, look at the big picture.
Get away from all the noise for a bit.
And ask those tough questions like, where are we going with all this?
And what role do we want tech to play in our lives?
Exactly.
I think the most important thing we can do is just stay informed,
And critical thinkers.
Yeah, and talk about it. Have these conversations with each other.
Because in the end, the future of tech, it's not set in stone.
It's not like destiny or something.
It's what we make it.
Through the choices we make, how we use it.
Our voices matter.
Absolutely. The more we understand, the better we can shape it all.
So, thinking about Mark Zuckerberg and all this, where does it leave you? I'm kind of like curious, but also a little cautious. Yeah. I mean, what's he going to do next? This metaverse thing, is it going to work? The future, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also optimistic. I think if we stay informed, ask the tough questions, we can make sure tech helps us, not the other way around.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and like this deep dive, it's a good start.
Right. Learning, thinking, being part of the conversation.
Exactly.
So that wraps up our Mark Zuckerberg deep dive. Hope you learned something.
Yeah, and maybe it sparked some new ideas, new questions.
Keep exploring all this. Keep thinking about it.
It's a wild ride for sure.
Thanks for listening.